Hey, it's Tuesday. You know what that means? It's time for a story. Well, when I was coming up here today, I saw Kim down at the pond. He was down there with a chicken and a frog and some books. I don't know what that was all about, but anyway, I'm here. My name is Dan Winning. I'm an elder here at the Westport Christian Church. And today, I'm going to fill in for Kim. Now, in the tradition of some of the great poets of history like Frost, Whitman, Shakespeare, well, when I'm done, you be the judge. Okay, here at the port, lately, because of everything, we've been spread a little thin. So getting around to visit folks has been a little slow, but we've been doing the best that we can. So here's a poem that reminds us to maybe pay a little better attention to what we're doing. Now, when Brother George sat down beside Granny's bed, she smiled her toothless smile. And even though Granny'd been right sick, they'd talked for quite a while. And as they talked, I happened to notice how George was helping himself to a big bowl of peanuts beside Granny's bed. They were sitting there on a shelf. And when Granny saw what George was doing, she said, "Finish 'em off if you wish." She said, "I can't eat 'em. I just suck off the chocolate and put 'em back in the dish." Well, that was my first attempt, and I do believe George should probably pay a little bit more attention when he's doing stuff and visiting folk. So I decided to go on, and I think most of you know Pastor Mike. And you know that he's a little different man today than he was before he took the plunge and was baptized into Christ. And one thing about him hasn't changed, though. The man loves to go fishing. And I'm wondering if this is maybe something Mike would have done. BC, of course. So now let's give this one a try. Okay, there was a warden kept seeing Mike pull up to the dock with the biggest bass in the lake. And after a while, it sort of got to him. It was just a little more than he could take. He said, "Mike, would you mind if I ride with you tomorrow so you can show me how you fish?" And Mike smiled at the warden and said, "That'd be fine. Bring a friend or two if you wish." And he showed up early, and they motored on out to where they were way out of sight. And Mike shut off the motor. He pulled out his lighter and lit a stick of dynamite. Then Mike threw it overboard, and it exploded in the water. And the fish started floating to the top. Mike grinned at the warden as he had stuttered and stammered. Mike thought he would go into shock. Then he yelled, "Mike, you're under arrest." Mike grinned at the warden as he stuttered and stammered. Then he lit a stick of dynamite and he tossed it to the warden. And he said, "You going to talk or you going to fish?" Well, now, Mike, I hope you take this well, but Mike really doesn't fish like this anymore. This was way back in the day. Today, Mike just goes out in his boat with a tackle box. He's armed with a reel and a rod. He breathes in the morning air and shares his thoughts with God. Now, that's two. I'm going to try one more. I don't know if that was quite enough yet, so we're going to go one more yet. And I've heard some stories that Kim and Janet enjoy seeing some of the wildlife that shows up in their little neighborhood. From watching birds at the bird feeder to keep an eye out for frogs and turtles and chickens. That's why I thought of them when I ran across this little rhyme the other day. It goes like this. Their cat drug up a rabbit it had killed. It does that now and then. Janet, said Kim, that's the neighbor's rabbit. It must have gotten out of its pen. And before he could say, what are we going to do? Janet took that rabbit to the sink and started shampooing that stiff bunny's fur. She said, they've gone out of town, I think. She said, if we can clean it up and get it back in its pen before they get home, we'll be fine. Then she said, get my blow dryer so I can fluff him up. Kim thought that she'd done lost her mind, but they fluffed him up nice and put him back in his pen. So he'd look like he'd died in his sleep. And the neighbors came home, and they didn't say nothing. But when Kim and Janet saw him at the end of the week, they said the strangest thing happened while we were gone. And Janet and Kim tried not to grin. They said, we buried our rabbit before we left. When we got home, it was back in its pen. Now, here at the port, we love our leaders, and I just wanted to poke a little fun this morning at their expense. I hope these little stories brought a smile to your face and maybe some joy to your day. Bye-bye. See you later. God bless.